Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. I'm your host, Blake Monroe. I'm joined each and every morning by Jerry Hamilton, and we got CJ Vogel. There we go. Had some connection issues there for a second. It seems like back at it now. But anyway, we are 54 days away from kickoff. So tell us who your favorite number 54 is. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. We got a lot to talk about today as well. But Jerry, let's start with a little recruiting.
Yeah. So over the weekend, Monson Sales announced that he's put out that he's going to announce his decision July 17th. The one thing that was very predictable about his announcement, guys, it was going to be on the Pat McAfee show. So the question was, when would it be on the Pat McAfee show? Well, Pat McAfee had been on hiatus, vacation, whatever, contract extension talk, whatever. He returns to the airways this week, and Monson Sales will announce on July 17th on the Pat McAfee show. And just amongst us, some people in our industry that I talked to, them friends with, and talked to about the recruitment, or guys that we hear that we work with, it was going to be like, there's no way this guy's not announcing on the Pat McAfee show. He's in Indianapolis, and he is the most highly ranked prospect out of the area in a while. So top 10 in the country. So he'll announce on the Pat McAfee show. We've heard nothing to change anything. That it's an Indiana versus Texas decision. We actually broke that news a while back. I think everybody else has heard about that as well and started reporting that. It doesn't mean things can't change, but it's really leaning to an Indiana versus Texas decision. Obviously, Indiana's been considered the favorite for a while. I know he had an amazing visit to Texas. I know they've had really good conversations. I know the talks have continued with the agent from the NIL perspective. And I think the big part of this decision for Sales will be, look, I mean, Indiana's never put more into a high school recruit than this. I mean, he's a 5-star wideout, top 10 in America, from Indianapolis, coming the class after Indiana wins a national championship. So this is a very big recruitment for Indiana, and I think they've done everything they can in this recruitment, and we'll see which way it goes. But it will be on the Pat McAfee show Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time, and we've heard nothing else to make us change that thought of it's Indiana versus Texas here at the end. And obviously there's going to be a number of hats on the table at Ohio State, LSU, and Alabama. I think the interesting thing with Sales will be, does he not go to the South to play college football? He's from Alabama. So, it's where he's originally from. Everybody knows his nickname by now is Bama. But I think he's had eyes for a long time on the South, even before when he replaced the Texas OV, it was Miami, Southern team, obviously. And then he made the surprise visit or timing of that visit to LSU. So, look, there's 3 Southern schools. There's 3 SEC schools that got visited. If it hadn't been Texas, it would have been Miami. So it would have been another Southern school to go with Ohio State and Indiana. But this is the one that Indiana's put more into than any other high school recruit in memory. But he really had a good visit to Texas. And Texas has done everything they can in this recruitment.
Okay, Jerry, anything new on Williams Callis? Because we're going to get asked about that.
Yeah, just wait. We're just waiting on an announcement date from him. I mean, that's really what it's been down to with these two guys. Look, we haven't heard anything to back us off of Texas in a good spot for Landon Williams Callis. Question is going to be, and I was told again this weekend, it could be any day now, but this is going to be a big announcement. This is not going to be an edit. No, we moved on, committed, and moved on. I've said this before many times, but Landon Williams Callis and his family are all hometown heroes of Richmond Rosenberg. This is going to be a big deal. This will be a big event when he announces his commitment. So it'll be a major event of some sort. But I keep being told, I keep getting told that, look, it should be well before the end of the month. What does that mean? Does that mean it's the 23rd? Does that mean it's 22nd? Does that mean it's 20th? We're waiting to kind of find out from the Williams Callis camp. But I can tell you this, it's going to be a big announcement. We haven't heard anything that's really changed our opinion or changed our intel that Texas is in a really good spot in this recruitment. Does that mean it's over? It doesn't. But I think there's some confidence remains in Austin, but we'll see when he announces. And if anything changes in that in the next few days.
Yep.
And we got a question here from Yes, OU Sucks. CJ or Jerry, all this talk of Indiana recruiting pressure, does that come from Mark Cuban's war chest?
I think Indiana's put more. Who it comes from, obviously that's up for debate. But Indiana's put more from an NIL perspective into this than any other high school recruit. That's come from multiple people. So, I mean, there's an importance there by Kirk Cignetti, by Indiana, to keep a top 10 ranked player in America home when they had zero chance to keep those guys home 3 years ago. Zero. They're actually told to leave the state before Indiana's football success unless you're going to Notre Dame. Because
Right.
Purdue's not a factor, Indiana's not a factor. There's more. You're thinking about staying in state. Are you crazy? Things have changed for Indiana a little bit, but they've put more from an NIL perspective into this recruitment than any other. And for a coach that goes to the portal a lot, will continue to go to the portal a lot, they couldn't have put more effort into keeping sales home. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it is necessarily just straight from Mark Cuban, but remember, Indiana has one of the largest living alumni fan bases in all of the country, right? It's like Indiana and UCF, I believe.
And people care now. And people care now, CJ.
Now there's a reason, and until Indiana basketball starts winning games, which we could talk about that on another time, that's the number one program at the university to give money to, and it's flooding in at the moment, apparently. So, look, that's not a Cuban thing. It's not a big money thing. It's a collective Indiana fan base saying, hey, we're here and we want to stay here for football.
All right. I need to say happy birthday this morning to RW. He says, good morning, OTF fam. I'm 39 today. So hope you have a very, very happy birthday today.
Cheers.
Very cool. Thanks for joining us.
Happy birthday in advance of 40 a year from now.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to have Marcus Myers join us here in just a moment. We're also going to be talking the MLB draft and how that affected Texas. But before we get into any of that, I need to tell everyone this morning about our sponsor. That's John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. John is a proud Texas Ex's Life member, and his wife and 6 siblings are all UT grads as well. So it was John's passion for UT that led him to brand his firm Longhorn Wealth Management Group. John's firm is dedicated to designing wealth creation and management strategies, as well as risk mitigation, to both develop and defend the wealth of UT alumni and UT employees, as well as UT fans across the nation. For over 30 years, John has helped his clients create their wealth, but even more importantly, also protect their wealth from risk, including investment, insurance, and estate planning risk. And of course, John was ecstatic over the news of Marcus Spears Jr. reclassifying and signing with the Horns basketball program. And he is pumped up for what Marcus adds to our national championship dreams in basketball over the next 2 years. So to celebrate this amazing recruiting win, John is offering every OTF fan a free private financial consultation via Zoom, phone, or in person, to allow John to show you how working with a certified financial planner can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy, and reduce or eliminate the risk to both you, your current, and your future financial success all along the way. To schedule that free private consultation, just call the Longhorn Wealth Management team at 972-707-4900 or schedule online at longhornwealth.net. And John and the rest of the Longhorn Wealth team send you all a huge Longhorn 100 winner. Hook 'em. All right, let's bring in Marcus this morning. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, fellas. How y'all doing?
Happy Monday, Marcus.
We're here.
Happy Monday indeed. Happy Monday
Be better.
indeed.
Chick-fil-A for breakfast. Can't be a better morning.
Where are you today, Jerry?
Well, I'm the SEC Media Days start on the 20th down in Tampa. I'm trying to get my parking place early, so
Gotcha.
I'm in the Sunshine State. I'm making sure I get a good parking place. Yeah.
I got you. Very
Marcus,
nice.
well, you also took part in this, but every Friday we're doing the top 40 on the 40, releasing 10 names at a time. The week before last, we went 40 to 31. This past week, we went 30 to 21. And for those listening, I'll run down this list real quick. Lawrence Seymour, Derek Williams Jr. This is from 30 down. Lawrence Seymour, Derek Williams Jr., Derek Cooper, Brad Spence, Nick Townsend, Justice Terry, Zena Humiozulu, Michael Masunas, Cade Phillips, and then Brandon Baker comes in at 21. But like I said, Marcus, you voted on this. We all voted on this.
Yeah.
So let's discuss it, fellas.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I need to go back and look and see what some of my votes were, but I know one of the guys I was higher on was Michael Masunas. I just think, the way they target him as early as they did, kind of lends me to think that Sark has a very specific plan for him. And, there's a lot of times where there's guys that are asked to do something in one offense and maybe not in another. And so it may make you think that maybe they're not capable of more. And I think maybe Masunas kind of falls into that, maybe what he was asked to do at Michigan State, Sark thinks he can get a little bit more out of him in that respect. And then I think, a number of the other guys make a lot of sense as well. I know a bunch of the guys are pretty high on Zena and, what he may be able to do, this coming season. So it'll be really intriguing to see how some of this pans out. As we're, continuing to talk through this, I'm going to try and go pull up what I voted and see how some of my guys actually shook out in terms of our top 40 list.
CJ, I think a big part of looking at this list is there's three guys. Obviously, Derek Williams coming off, and we're going to get to Nick Townsend, but there's three guys on defense, maybe actually four with Justice Terry, which is interesting about this list. Derek Williams coming off the injury, Justice Terry coming off the injury, was still not quite back to 100% at the end of June. He's expected to be back to 100% by fall camp. But then Zena, then Cade Phillips. Texas needs three of these guys to really step up. And I think that's what the bet is on this list is Derek Williams returns more to the pre-injury Derek Williams. Justice Terry takes a big step, then Zena and Cade. Who's going to be that pass rusher opposite Colin Simmons, guys? Zena has that potential. Who's going to be the corner opposite Bo Masco? Had a great spring. It better be Cade Phillips because CJ reiterated the news we broke that Kobe Black is working plenty at safety right now. So those four guys on defense on this list are guys that need to take big steps to maximize this team this year in this defense.
Yeah, that's what's going to be really interesting. Again, just to who are the X factors? And I know I've written a lot about Justice Terry this offseason. If he can be that disruptive interior defensive lineman for Texas, well, that takes a lot off the plate of Colin Simmons or Lance Jackson or Zeno Moslow from having to create pass rushing pressure every single time that Texas is in a defensive in a passing snap, essentially. So that would be big for Texas. I was more intrigued by this. And Jeff Howe put up the rankings earlier this week, and going through who has who where on this 21 through 30 list, it was really interesting. Lawrence Seymour had a high of 24. He's not ranked on a couple. Derek Williams not ranked on a couple. Brad Spence not ranked. I mean, when you talk about the peaks and the valleys of a lot of these guys, Zeno Moslow from high of number 12 on this roster to not ranked on the top 40. It's really interesting just how the ability for these guys to fluctuate on all of the ballots if they're able to go through an entire 12 or 16 or 17 game season. And this is kind of the area in which we see them end up as a top 40 player on the roster. I think you'd be pleased seeing Brandon Baker and Lawrence Seymour among your top 30, given what you saw a year ago on your offensive line, right? If that's what you see with two of your interior offensive guards, I think that's a plus for Texas. Blake, I see
Blake's
you.
muted.
I forgot I was muted.
Joe Z isn't here to pick on you.
Well, actually, what I was going to say, Jerry, I was looking, and everybody have Zena and Baker both rated higher than anybody on this list. You had Zena at 12 and Baker at 13.
Yeah, so Zena's interesting for me because at the spring showcase, spring game showcase, whatever we want to call it nowadays, it really wasn't the game, right? They protect certain players from injury, right? Hey, this guy's not going to take too many reps. Marcus, CJ, Zena didn't take a lot of reps. They they're very high on Zena and the importance of what he can become this year. That was one, we'd heard he's having a great spring. But that was very interesting to me how little they actually let Zena play or go in that spring showcase. And Brandon Baker, look, I think he's got an enormous – obviously he's going to be an NFL draft pick. I think he's got an enormous task this year. And I think he's a very, very important player. Obviously, he moves to the right guard spot. He's playing – he has a year of experience as a starter now at right tackle. He really came on as the season moved along. But think about his job this year. Connor Robertson is a first-year starter at center, been in the program a long time, well-schooled guy, but still first-time starter at Texas, first-year starter at Texas. And then you have Siani, who transferred in. Baker's job post-snap is big. Is he going to move people in the run game, Marcus? Is he going to create all that? That's the biggest move to guard for me, is the different demands on the position, especially from a physicality and the strike. Early, it's tackle's more of a waiting position. Guard is more of aggressive position, and he has to move people in the run game. But the communication part for his job this year, as Melvin Siani gets comfortable at Texas, I don't care how many snaps you've played, you still have to get comfortable in your new setting on the field on Saturdays. I look at Brandon Baker and say, dude, you got a big job. You're a really good player. You've made a position move. Now you're going to be key in communication from Connor Robertson to Siani. And, oh, by the way, you got to go out there and prove that you can move people in the run game from the guard position against Ohio State in an SEC schedule. I'm a big Brandon Baker fan, but I will acknowledge he's got a big job this year, different than a year ago, Marcus.
Yeah, his shoes are ones that are definitely large to fill, in that, proving that he has the physicality to, really hold up at the point of attack on the inside there. And I think, when I'm looking at the same list, I had Brandon Baker at 19, so I wasn't, too far off from where we are right now. I was trying to figure out if I had any outliers in here. I think I might have been the highest on KJ Lacey. So I guess if he had come up, he would have been on a prior iteration of what got released. But I had him at 30. So when you kind of look through it, you're trying to tell yourself a story, right? It's like, what have we already seen these guys do? What do we think that they can do? And how are we projecting them for the season? So I think, you're right. Brandon Baker is going to go a long way to kind of tell the story of what this team is going to be able to do. And I certainly think that he's capable of doing it, even if I question his thoughts on Tex-Mex.
Can I get both of y'all's thoughts? And Blake, I don't want to leave you out as well. My bad. Tight end, Masunas, I believe, was sitting there at 23. Nick Townsend at 26. That's a spot that we've talked a lot about this offseason, because we've continually seen a lot of production, whether it's Jatavian Sanders, Gunnar Helm. You look at what late in the year Jack Indries was able to do in this offense. We know that there's going to be a role for Nick Townsend, but how large, how impactful can that role grow to be for Nick Townsend, given we did not see a lot of success in the passing game towards him a year ago, whereas Michael Masunas, in my opinion, is capable, but also not a strength of his, given what he did on the field at Michigan State. More of a mover, more of a guy that you're going to rely on in that C-gap blocking area. What's the ceiling for the two of those guys? And then also count in Amari Winston, Spencer Sanders. Sanders, excuse me.
Look, I think the Texas blocking game at the tight end position, now Nick Townsend in the year two, when he made contact, he made real contact. Sometimes as a young player, you weren't chasing the right contact or whiffed on the contact, but he's up to 260 pounds now. Masunas is one of the better blocking tight ends, inline blocking tight ends in the country. I think this position from a blocking standpoint maybe as improved as any in the program, Marcus, because you bring in Masunas, and now you have Townsend in year two, who is a very physical player, and now things will be moving slower for him, and he'll have a better understanding of the position. You can get into a 12 personnel game where you have a strength as a blocking at both tight end positions. I think that can greatly help your run game, greatly help your offensive line, and greatly help you maximize this team offensively. Because I think we all talk about Arch and the throw game and the running backs, but I think we're maybe sleeping on the tight ends in the run game a little bit right now. I think they're going to be really good combo. And I'm not saying Spencer Shannon can't be as well, but I think those two guys, Townsend year 2 and Masunas coming in as one of the best inline blockers in the country at that position, give Texas a real advantage this season.
Well, and what you see sometimes is that, if one of those guys comes out, there's a pretty significant drop off for, the level of blocker that the next guy may be. And, kind of what you're describing there, Jerry, is much less of that, right? If both of them can be plus players in the run game, along with Spencer Shannon, and then, still have some of that athletic ability, I think, what Nick Townsend is probably close to 260, if not, maybe a little bit more than that, but still has been able to maintain that explosivity and just be one of the top athletes that the guys have in the program. That's still someone that can be a threat, but if you know that they have it there in the blocking, that certainly should go a ways to assisting the offensive line as well as bolstering what that running back room is able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And let's take a look at the lone freshman on the list coming in at 28, Derek Cooper, the only freshman on this list. Now, Bobby actually had Cooper rated the highest at 22. Marcus, you had him the lowest at 32, so still right there in it. But all of us pretty much between around 26 to 30. I mean, everybody else besides Bobby and Marcus there, 26 to 30. But yeah, again, the only true freshman on this list and RB3.
The one thing that's easy to predict in college football is your running backs are going to get nicked up. And you can start a season 3, but there's going to be some point during the season where Derek Cooper is number 2. You hope there's not a point where he's number 1 going in the game, because that means you've had really bad luck at the running back position. But look, I think there's a commonality with a Derek Cooper, and I used to see Cedric Baxter before his injury. Cedric Baxter, Kelvin Banks, guys. It's a maturity. Yeah. It's one thing to be talented, but then when you come in and you immediately start impressing from a maturity standpoint, Marcus, you've been through this. You've watched guys. You build the trust of a coaching staff really quickly, and they know you love the talent. That's easily seen on Huddle. If I went and saw him in person, Texas scouted him, all that's easy to see, except for the guys that ranked him too low. But that's another discussion. But then comes to once you get to campus, is the makeup that they saw when they recruited you? Does that continue when you get to campus? Does it continue after NIL starts hitting the bank account? Derek Cooper is a very mature guy. And I think that is what gives him a great opportunity on this team, is I think he's come in and attacked the running back position with Jabbar Jaloop like a young professional does. Same things Texas loves about Monshun Sells and Lucas Roa from their OVs, by the way. That maturity and that ability to hold a conversation with their coach or the people recruiting him with their coach and respond with the correct questions. So they're really engaged. You're truly engaged. So there's a maturity that comes with these guys that we put expectations on as true freshmen a lot of time. And it really starts with what maybe we hear behind the scenes about a guy's maturity. We know the guy's a talent. We know he's a potential NFL running back if he stays healthy, or likely, whatever you want to say. But I think the maturity gives you a leg up with your coaching staff and early on to be able to come in and play a key role for a team, even when you have older guys in front of you.
Yeah, I don't know. I in hindsight, I probably was a little too low. I think unfairly, I'm probably pretty tough on the running back position just because I've seen a few guys that were all right toting the rock. And so I tend to kind of want to see it on the field first. And maybe that's even, some of my Mac Brown bag, right? Like at what point do they actually turn it over to him in, really high pressure situations, right? Yes. Like I'm sure he'll get some carries against Texas State, but if it's, 3rd and 1, in the third quarter against Ohio State, is he touching that ball? Or, are they going with like an arch power run kind of thing? And then I think as the season wears on, to your point, Jerry, and you're playing a 9-game SEC schedule, you need all the talent you can get there. And, we saw what happened when a room like that can get depleted. So I definitely think he's going to be a great player for the Horns. am trying to maybe project a little bit slower start, but maybe ends with the bang.
Well, CJ, I think the one thing we can hope for Cooper is his first carry against Texas State isn't a fumble. There's nothing that'll lose you all the goodwill you've built up more than a fumble on your first couple of carries. So, Coop, 2 hands on the ball on contact on your first 2 or 3 carries.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Look, if Derek Cooper at any point this year starts earning starter reps, if he's getting 15 touches a game, I think you can kind of put him in line with being one of the next Texas great running backs, because he'll be doing that over 2 running backs that were first-team all-conference a year ago. So if that's the chunk, if that's the volume that we eventually see from a true freshman in a backfield as talented as this, especially at the very top, that would be very encouraging. And I'll also add this. I got to talk to Jelani McDonald and Kobe Black last week at one of their NIL events, and I asked them, y'all are doing 7-on-7 right now. Who's impressing? How does that go about? Who organizes? And, of course, they say the quarterbacks, right? Quarterbacks are the ones in the group chat. They sit there. They send out the text. We're throwing it this time. We're throwing it this place. Be there. Bring your cleats. Let's get after it. So, all right, well, who's impressing, especially of the young group? And mentioned in that group was Derek Cooper. And I know that we like seeing running backs get the ball out of the backfield. Texas has obviously had a lot of success with backs out of the backfield recently. You look at Bijan Robinson, what even Roschon was able to do, Keelan Robinson, Jaden Blue, there's been plenty. But for a bigger back like Derek Cooper to be mentioned in those 7-on-7 settings, I think is very encouraging.
Yeah.
And a quick question from the chat, and we'll assume everybody stays healthy with this question. If Derek Cooper can block for Arch better than the upperclassmen, would he start later in the season?
Well, that's a good question. And it's a good question because when we talked to Kyle Flood in the spring, one of the big questions about not just the running back position entirely, but I mean, circus, kind of circled around pass protection in general. And he said, yeah, look, our young guys are willing to block. And right now with Derek Cooper, he's had probably 4 or 5 highlight reel plays towards the back end of the spring in which we showed it to the running back room. We showed it to the offensive line room. It's the willingness and it's the intent to be where you need to be in pass protection settings. So leaving the spring, pass protection was not really a question mark for Derek Cooper. Now, what does that look like when there's 100,000 fans in the stands? That's probably a bigger question. But at least he's willing, much like what we talked about with Nick Townsend last year, being willing to lower your hat and hit someone that's probably 100 pounds heavier than you. Right now, Derek Cooper is willing, and he's in the right place. That's how you build trust, to Jerry's point. Now it's about making sure that you can do that on Saturdays.
And I'm going to answer a question real quick around that. California Horn 75 says, who does Derek compare to, Ricky? I'm not bringing that one into the equation. What's interesting is let's go away from what I think or from from seeing him or the Texas side thinks right now. When he was being recruited, he was one-time Georgia commit. Remember that? I asked somebody close to the Georgia program, who does that – because Texas was recruiting him, who does he remind you of? And the answer was, he reminds us of the 2 big backs on the national championship teams with much more athleticism. So that Georgia had the 2 big backs. They didn't run well at the combine. I think they were 4.65 guys, right? But they were bigger, physical backs, were really good all-around backs. But they say that's who he reminded him of with a lot more athleticism, higher NFL upside. So that's from a team that was recruiting him that had him committed at one time. That's what they kind of saw at him. And Georgia's got a pretty good track record on these guys. So that's kind of what Georgia saw in him way back when he was committed to Georgia, just from somebody else's perspective in his recruitment.
Well, Marcus, thank you so much, as always, for joining us as you do each and every Monday. Appreciate you.
All right. Now.
We'll see you next Monday.
All right. Welcome. Catch y'all later.
Thanks, Marcus.
For what it's worth, I had a loose Derek Cooper comparison to Joe Mixon coming up.
I like it. Not bad.
Not bad.
Doug Haywood says no Jermaine Bishop love on the list. He was in the top 40, was he not?
I would wait a week, Doug.
Yeah.
I would wait 1 week.
We still got 20 more players to get to. All right, guys. Well, we're going to talk the baseball draft here in just a moment. But first, Jerry, I need you to tell everyone about Zen AI.
Oh, I can do that this summer. Don't just watch the game, vibecast it. ZenAI is home to vibecasting, a new way to capture and share real sports conversations. No studio, no fancy gear, and your phone is the whole setup. Arguing about who should have taken the last shot, breaking down every play, hit record, talk it out, and ZenAI turns that convo into a sports class you can share as clips, reels, and even TikToks. An AI producer works behind the scenes cleaning up audio, cutting highlights, and helping you tweak edits just by chatting in plain English. Go live while the game is on or record your hot takes after. Bring your own co-host and find another fan in Zen AI's network. This summer, Zen AI is paying new Vibecasters to launch their first sportscast. Humans are the talent, AI is the infrastructure. Zen AI is invite only. Head to zen.ai to join the wait list. That's zen.ai or tap the link in our show notes. Best of luck to you.
And I'm going to tell you all about Prize Picks this morning because there's a lot of ways to watch sports. You can sit back, check the score, maybe flip between games, or you can have something riding on every swing, every shot, every touch, every possession. That's where Prize Picks comes in. The summer sports calendar is loaded right now. Baseball's rolling. We got the home run derby starting tonight. WNBA has been a blast. Of course, the World Cup is starting to wrap up, and Prize Picks gives you a simple way to make all of it a lot more interesting. You're just looking at player projections and deciding one thing, more or less. That's it. You build your lineup, you submit your picks, and now you're locked in from the first whistle to the final out. And I'm going to put our picks on the board for today because we're getting in on that home run derby action. We got both Ben Rice and Bryce Harper to have more than 8.5 home runs in the first round. Harper's at home in Philly, so we expect him to shine. And then Rice, of course, is going to benefit from being a left-handed pull hitter and with being there in Philly. And that's what makes Prize Picks fun. You trust your read, you make the call, and suddenly every little moment matters. And yes, Prize Picks is available in all 50 states. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you sign up. They're going to give you $50 in lineups instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code HMA. 5 gets you 50. It's as simple as that. And as always, play smart, play responsibly, play Prize Picks. Okay, guys. Well, let's talk a little MLB draft before we get to some questions here. And CJ, we saw 6 Longhorns get drafted along with a handful of what would have been future Longhorns. But, of course, Carson Tenney, round 2 to the Twins, Robbins, round 3 to the Mets, Riojas, round 3 to the Phillies. We just got in talking about them. Thomas Burns, round 8 to the Twins, Luke Harrison, 8 to the Cardinals. And then Cody Howard, CJ, round 13 to the Nationals.
Yeah. I at some point thought I would hear my name called in the 14th round. But look, I think, 6 guys taken from Texas, I think it's a successful year. I think for a guy like Aiden Robbins, maybe Thomas Burns, Luke Harrison, you had to wait a little bit longer than what you normally would have anticipated. Carson Tenney going beyond or before Robbins, I thought was a bit of a surprise. But we did see a quick run on catchers here towards that back end of the first round. And look, you sit there and miss out being a first round pick by only a couple of spots. I'm sure if you're Tenney, you're kind of kicking yourself, but ultimately that's a great spot to end up. Aiden Robbins, good luck with the Mets. That's been a dumpster fire over the last couple of years, but if you succeed there, you will get paid. You just might not win anything. But all in all, look, I think the bigger conversation stems from the high school ranks in which Texas unable to hold on to a couple of key pieces in that signing class. Blake, I know that you put up a couple of notes on Texas Football Saturday evening. The one real surprise for me was Bo Peterson, who was drafted 133rd by the Astros. I'm sure, obviously, they met the number that he was looking for, but additionally, a hometown guy staying inside the state of Texas plays a factor.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's a big deal for the Longhorns because, you're kind of waiting to see what happens with Mendoza. Peterson presumably was going to be, or at least push for playing time at second base. So what happens there now? What happens with Mendoza? Huge question mark, CJ, when it comes to second base, looking ahead to the 2020 season.
Look, you feel pretty good about the rest of that lineup, right? And especially when you add Solitaire, Peyton Brennan wasn't drafted, who was certainly draft eligible. That was a guy that I know his numbers might not have been the prettiest a year ago, but when it comes to tools, that's what gets you drafted in the MLB draft, right? They're all about development. Of course, you have to go through AA, AA, AAA to get to the pros. So layers and layers of developmental competition ahead. Peyton Brand's a guy who, let's not forget, hit a ball 514 feet in competition this year, right? So the athletic tools are there. He's a two-way player. He can play very well in the outfield alongside Anthony Pack. And we'll see what that center field spot looks like, Blake, because, again, with Sawyer Solitaria coming in, is he your DH? Is it going to be Trevor Goldenetz in center field? What about Jonah Williams? Where does he fit into this equation as well? So you have options moving forward into 2027, but that second base spot remains a bit of an unknown. And it sounds like, of course, we talk about Marcos Paz as well. Texas still toying around with the portal, probably not going to be done. Let's see where they move now as the dust settles from the MLB draft.
Yeah, I talked to somebody yesterday, and I know I think it was Longhorn Frenzy asked about Paz. As CJ said, still waiting on that decision. I think he's going to finish up another visit or two and then decide. Texas still feels pretty good about where things sit. I mean, the longer that plays out, you just never know how that goes. They will definitely be looking for another infielder in the portal. Yep. And then, they had a visitor last week. We can't release his name at this time. Paz was one of the two visitors. Will they take him? Will they take, a couple of other options out there? I mean, it's getting down to a very small pool, CJ, but there's still names in there that they like. And I definitely don't think they're done hosting people at this time.
No, I would agree not. And two final things on baseball. First, Hayden LeFew, not drafted. Yep. Unfortunate. But for Texas going into next year, that's great, right? Is he a potential third starter? Do you use him as a long reliever, kind of a guy that comes in and puts out fires in the 7th and 8th inning? Could he be your closer? Same thing with Gavin King. Texas added him out of Middle Tennessee State this year. He had a 6 ERA, so obviously not super attractive, but he's 6'7" and he throws about 98. So that in its own right, very attractive. And again, when it comes to the MLB draft, tools are what gets you drafted more so than production at times. So Texas able to retain a number of key arms, I think, is very crucial for next fall or next spring. But additionally, we're seeing in live time the MLB draft losing more and more of its power when it comes to the ultimate attractiveness to leave, right? College baseball becoming the ultimate developmental, stop, if you will, for a lot of these guys moving from high school or staying in college one extra year to play for an SEC program, in North Carolina, a Miami, a USC, some of the schools that are really starting to make waves when it comes to developmental. So that's something for me to continue watching is the talent in these 20-round MLB drafts certainly shrinking, and that's why you're seeing guys take earlier and earlier than what maybe you would have anticipated a few years ago.
No doubt.
Hey, Blake, we got a great question from the chat I want to get answers on. Name a celebrity on the sideline for the Ohio State game. Chat, who's your take? Look, I'll say this for these games. It's during NFL season, right? So you can knock out a bunch of those guys. So you get down to your former baseball players, your NBA guys, and your movies, your actors. That's pretty much going to fill the sidelines for both teams, I would think, at this game. So
we've had a couple of answers already, too. Sandman says LeBron, Jerry.
Yep.
KD
will be there if his schedule fits.
Yeah,
KD and LeBron.
Jack Nicklaus from R.S. Louis.
I doubt he's there. He's going to be bone fishing in the Bahamas. But here's a couple other ones though. Wemby, that would be amazing, by the way. If he's around, if he's in the country at that time. The other ones would be, look, Miles Turner shows up everywhere he can. Mo Bamba shows up on the side. I mean, so look for your NBA guys. Bruce Thornton will probably be there. He's drafted by the Rockets. He'll probably be there for Ohio State. A lot of people may not know who he was unless you're a Rockets fan or Ohio State basketball fan, which I hope there's none in this chat. That would be scary, by the way. But then, look, we can, unless they're shooting the movie, Glenn Powell's probably going to be there. McConaughey's definitely going to be there, right?
Yep.
I mean, Roger Clemens will be there if he doesn't have something scheduled. There's about 15 guys you can pretty much circle and say they'll be there if their profession or their work doesn't have them called away.
Jim Tressel. Maybe.
Urban Meyer won't be there because it's not a Fox game. He'll be in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, we've seen crowded sidelines before. I would say that A&M sideline at DKR last year was probably the most crowded I've seen pregame.
Yep.
I do think this tops it, and I bet it does look like that 2019 LSU game when it comes to lines and hordes of people outside waiting for those gates to open up. It's going to be fun, man. What are we, Blake? 54 days away, 61 from that game.
Yeah.
Woo.
So speaking of that, let's look at our 54s for today, fellas. And 54 days away. And this was a little, some of these numbers, guys, are tougher than others out there. And there is no current 54 on this roster, by the way. I do want to mention that. But this is a little bit before my time, so hopefully I don't butcher this last name. But Mike Babb, I hope I'm saying
great
correctly.
player. You're right. Great player.
And then Cole Hudson, and then John Mater, the deep snapper for Texas, played in 49 career games. Every now and again, we get these numbers where you get a deep snapper, long snapper, whatever, on here. So had to include him today because there wasn't a lot of 54s, guys.
Yeah, look, Mike Babb was a team captain, an 11-year NFL player. He was a tremendous football player. By the way, he's definitely got a doppelganger because when you brought this photo up of a young Mike Babb, man, it like said, okay, he looks exact. He's got a doppelganger out there. Chat, this is your job. Who does Mike Babb look like? He could pass as maybe a relative of Blaine Irby, but that's not who I'm thinking about. That guy has a doppelganger out there. It instantly hit me, but a great player at the University of Texas and had a tremendous NFL career. Cole Hudson, CJ, part of the that first offensive line class. That was a big class. It produced. It's going to end up producing multiple NFL guys. It has produced a first rounder, a couple of lower picks. Obviously, the final piece of that class will be starting at center this year. So, a tremendous offensive line class for the University of Texas. And Cole Hudson will always have the distinction of he was the first guy. He was the only guy to enroll, and he started every game as a true freshman next to Kelvin Banks. That is a pretty heady stuff for any player to start every game as a true freshman in major college football.
That's exactly where I was going to go, where we talk about Kelvin Banks coming in as a left tackle and competing right away as a starting true freshman. Cole Hudson did the same. And I do think that gets lost when talked about, that 2022, 23, obviously in Cole Hudson's career. But beyond that, very impressive. And to play in 48 career games, I know that there was a platoon at the back end with DJ Campbell, but to end up being a starter, that played multiple positions on this offensive line during his career, that in itself deserves a tip of the cap.
Did Hudson's dad at Arizona State, did he wear 54, Jerry? Do you know?
No, couldn't have. He was a baseball player. I don't think so. But let's see if we can find that out.
Well, I tried to find his baseball jersey number. Of course, 54 is an active number for baseball, but I didn't know if he wore 54 as well. I was just curious there.
Let me see if I can find that.
If so, you're a better Googler than I, because I could not find it on there at all. Oh, man. All right, guys, we got some super chats that we need to get to, along with a couple of other topics. Let's take this one from Juan Garza, because this is going to kind of lead into what we talk about next. He says, you said last week, who would Alabama hire if they got rid of DeBoer? Could they just go after Cignetti, and then DeBoer goes to Indiana?
He wore number 50.
Close.
Look, I just don't think DeBoer's Alabama's making a move. He just got a big contract extension.
Surprisingly.
He's been to the college football playoff with 2 teams. Name that list of people. Name that list of coaches that are active. The guys are real. I didn't get ESPN put out. I posted it on TexasFootball.com, the rankings of the top 10 coaches, and they had DeBoer below Mike Elko. I said, have we all lost our mind? This guy's a really good football coach. He's been in a college football playoff with 2 teams. Look, there's a big difference in Alabama now than when Nick Saban was Alabama. Where are they at in the NIL race? Where are they at? They're not where Texas or Texas A&M's at. They're not where Ohio State's at. So where are they at? I think people are missing some things. A guy's a really good football coach. And that's the problem. Who would Alabama hire? Do you think Cignetti would take that job? He may have more NIL support or just the same at Indiana. mean, he's got some big money behind him, and he's won.
Probably more, yeah.
Is Alabama as a tougher job in the SEC because of NIL than it was pre-NIL? And that's not to take away from what Nick Saban did there. He's the best coach we've ever seen in college football. But this is a different time for Alabama. I'm not sure, if that job opened, a lot of people would say, oh, Dan Lanning would take it. Would he? What if USC opens? Which job is he going to take, USC or Bama? I'm not sure the answer is what people think it is.
Yeah. It's interesting. Back to that original question is a lot of these questions were asked, 7 months ago, Jerry? 8 months ago? Obviously, when questions about the future at Michigan, the future of Kalen DeBoer at Alabama were in question. We talked about it a little bit last week on the Winning Drive. Look, eventually we'll be able to talk about just what was the coaching rumor mill last year and how many dominoes that had one fallen, what might, 10 others could have looked like. They could have impacted a handful of blue bloods across the country. We'll get to it eventually. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but boy, the offseason of 2025 going into 2026 with the rumor mill at the coaching world, all of which in a way revolving around Kalen DeBoer and his future at Alabama, boy, it was interesting. And boy, every day you kind of woke up to a new text or a new call saying, really, this is even something people are contemplating right now? So I do think –
I'll throw another one out for you, CJ. Like let's say SC and Alabama come open at the same time. Say Kenny Dillingham has his option of both. Which job would he take? He's taking USC.
Yeah.
I mean,
which is crazy.
I just think that's where people have to be a little careful on Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer is a proven winner everywhere he's been. Alabama, if they released him, and they owe him a ton of money with that contract extension, who would they really get? There's no guarantees for them.
Jared, can I ask you this about DeBoer in Alabama this year? I don't know how, we're still 54 days away from the season beginning. Alabama's 2025 season, that was the least physical team I've ever seen from an Alabama program. And again, I started watching football religiously, probably right as Nick Saban got into this sport or got into that job at Alabama. Is that something that you see DeBoer fixing this year?
Yeah, I don't compare him to Lincoln Riley like that. I think offensive line running the football in the SEC, they have to improve. They have to improve. We'd say the same thing about them we say about Texas. You got to be better up front. You got to run the football better in this league long term, because Kalen DeBoer, they have to be more physical. This is a physical league still, and you have to be able to run the football physicality. Look, I think the interesting thing for me with Bama is some of the guys that left on defense. I think they got really good frontline guys. What is their depth going to be like on the defensive side of the ball? I think their secondary is really, really good. Like really good.
Corner tandons should be phenomenal. Dijon Lee, Xavier Brown, phenomenal.
And it's going to really. I think they need. Well, obviously, a lot of people think Keelan Russell's going to win that job. I think they're going to need him to be a high-level guy. That is a piece to me. I do think. Look, I think they have their running game much for the same reason Texas running game is going to be better this year. I think their running backs are pretty good. And I think Xavier Crowell is an absolute stud who Texas obviously wanted last year. He was just as Texas liked him just as much or more than Derek Cooper, probably more at some points in that recruitment. But I think their running game is going to be better because their running backs and that personnel is going to be better, because I think Crowell could be a stud player. I think a Deer, who Texas loved, Tashard Choice offered out of Mississippi. I think their parts for the running game are going to be improved, kind of like Texas parts for the running game are improved. So I think that's going to help their offensive line. But to your point, CJ, I think that they have to be – we say the same thing about Texas in the run game. I think Alabama's got to be the same. You got to be more physical in this league at the POA.
Yeah. I just saw a soft team last year, and I hope that's not kind of a trait of DeBoer at Alabama. Because if it is, he's going to be out quick, much quicker than that contract extension might have indicated, because you can't lose 38-3 to Indiana after getting whooped by Georgia in the SEC championship game and claim to be an Alabama physical, dominating, intimidating team like you were.
Well, we're going to get into those top 10 coaches that Jerry mentioned here in just a moment. But first, Jerry, I need you to tell everyone this morning about one of your favorite stops in all the land, Hays City Store.
There was a list. This one might be number one. There are very few restaurants of what you go to. You immediately know they're just special. Hays City Store is certainly one of those places. It's scratch-made Texas comfort food. They got the famous truck stop enchiladas, award-winning chicken fried steak, homemade desserts. All of it's absolutely delicious, and all of it's from scratch. There's also live music 6 nights a week with 50 beer taps, ice-cold long necks, and tasty margaritas. There are 13 TVs alone in their ice house, which is perfect for game days. Football's right around the corner. And they have brunch served from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Sunday. Hays City Store is dog-friendly, and they have a tree net for kids. Join the folks at Hays City Store and bring your whole crew. For more information, check out the website at HaysCityStoreTX.com. Hays City Store, it's uniquely Texas. And I'll just add this. I reached out to Hays City Store, and I said, is anybody and everybody welcome at their store? And they said, yes, even Oregon fans like Joe Z are.
Thank you, Jerry. All right, guys. ESPN came out with a top 10 list of the top 10 coaches in college football for 2026. Kirk Cinetti was number 1, followed by Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Marcus Freeman, Dan Lanning rounds out your top 5. Sark comes in at 6, followed by Kiffin, Elko, and Whittingham at Michigan is 9. And then we had a tie for 10th with Cristobal and DeBoer. And, of course, we just went in depth on DeBoer. But, guys, your thoughts, and let's start with Sark at 6.
I mean, look, I start at tie 10. Those two guys have played for a national championship. How are they 10? How's Kyle Whittingham above either of these guys? How's Elko, Lane, Sark above these? Dan Lanning. These guys have played for a national championship before. Kalen DeBoer's been to a playoff at 2 schools.
Yep.
CJ, what am I missing here?
No, I was going to say the same thing. If you have Marcus Freeman at 4, why is DeBoer 10?
Yeah.
I like Cristobal in his own right should probably be higher, though. I think he has a longer list of mental gaffes. You've certainly seen his decisions be reasons why Miami has fallen flat in games before. But I'm with you. I mean, DeBoer, I think this past year did so much damage to his reputation, just in the sense that Alabama looked the way that they did, even after finishing the regular season, ranked 8? 9, winning a playoff game on the road against an SEC team. I don't get it. Again, I still look at Dan Lanning and Sark kind of in that same conversation of, pick one, pick the other, flip a coin. It doesn't matter. They're probably right there, given programs are very similar spots. Still can't get over the hump. Still very hit or miss when it comes to beating and competing against the top teams on your schedule each year. That's what I look at and say, which of those two guys makes the jump? But you can't argue with the top 3.
Nah.
They're made men.
Yeah. And by the way, you know who's fallen more than any other coach? Faster than I've seen? Dabo.
Yeah,
yes, two national championships doesn't even make the list.
Great point.
I mean, who's fallen as far as he has?
No.
I mean, that's hard. How many coaches have won 2 national championships in the history of college football? We're sitting here talking about a list of a top 10, and Kirby's the only guy that has multiple national championships. Dabo didn't even make the list.
Who's fallen as fast as Dabo's swinging? I would say Jimbo Fisher.
Maybe. I mean, what's the list of coaches who won 2 national championships, and he doesn't even make the top 10 anymore? That's pretty crazy to me. But look, I would say this on Sark. Sark and Lanning. I think this is really big seasons for Sark and Lanning. Because, look, there's a natural next step these guys need to take. They're at premier programs, and Oregon's a premier modern-day program for me. It's a program that recruits really well. They've been to multiple playoffs. The Chip Kelly played for a national title. They have a run of success that's impressive. They recruit at a high level. They're a top 7 level NIL competitor in recruiting in football. Sark, obviously, we know what Texas is. And Lane Kiffin's going to be added to that list pretty soon here. I would say year 2 at LSU, to be fair to him, not year 1. But it's a big year for Sark and Lanning for me, CJ, because which of those guys is going to take the next step?
Yeah.
Like, what happens if Mario Cristobal loses his whole offensive line, brings in Mensa, and goes makes the playoff again and goes further in the playoffs than Sark or Lanning? Mario Cristobal is going to be sitting there at 4 or 5 a year from now. I mean, there's a lot on the plate for Lanning and Sark this year, I think, in terms of their next step as a head coach. Because right now, if you look at it, no matter what you say about the rankings, Freeman's played for a national championship. But I think 39 years old was when he was coaching on a team that played for a national championship. Obviously, Cristobal, obviously DeBoer. I don't quite sure know how Whittingham is where he is on this list. I think the guy's a really good football coach, but that just doesn't make sense to me on this list. And then Elko. I mean, I think Elko's a solid football coach, and I think he's at a great job because A&M. He's a great job now because A&M's a top 5 NIL program. So every year you're going to have the personnel to compete.
Right. Well, you mentioned Kyle Whittingham, and Woodcrest poses the question of who is the most overrated coach on the list. He says Lanning. I know a lot of folks are going to say Kyle Whittingham. I'm still going with Ryan Day. I just can't get over the fact that you lose to your arch rival 5 straight times with significantly more talent. You fumble and fumble and fumble in the postseason time and time again, and then you hire the best offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly and the best defensive coordinator in Jim Knowles and go to the portal for a proven veteran quarterback, and that's when you win a championship. I mean, he was born on third base, literally, and it took him forever to get over the hump. I am no Ryan Day fan. I think he is as overrated as you will find in college football.
Yeah.
A lot of people not happy about Elko being on the list. No surprise there, as this is a Texas channel. Or Dan Lanning being so high, along with I was trying to see if there was any other ones. Lanning and Elko seem to be the most 2 called out in the chat.
By the way, the other coach that has fallen fast is Lincoln Riley.
Oh, another good one.
That's a good one.
Think about where Lincoln was when he left Oklahoma to go to USC. It was when, not if. And now it's if you're going to have a job in 2 years, if you don't turn the corner with Gary Patterson in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Yeah, Baylor might open.
Yeah.
We got a couple of super chats. Need to read this one here from Rocky P. He says this is for Matthew's Coffee since he has to be up early and monitor coffee and football because Blake can't figure out the mute button. Matt is the glue of OTF. I will say, Matt, very, very hard work. He definitely deserves all the praise that he can get.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it. But appreciate the comment, Rocky P. And let's see here. One other super chat from Rocky P. I hope everyone has a blessed week. Last week's excitement with Spears Jr. signing. What fireworks does Texas have for us this week with all the signings for football, baseball, softball? Has this been the best summer for Texas ever?
Ooh, best summer for Texas ever. Now that's a debate, Jerry.
That's to be a video. That's a video idea, Rocky Poor. Easily in the portal area. I mean, yeah. I say this on every video. I still think it's always going to be underrated. Texas softball got the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy winner, the Naismith winner, meaning TJ Ford or Kevin Durant level out of the portal. Like they got the National Player of the Year out of the portal on a 2-time national champion team.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that'd be like Mendoza. I said it before. That'd be like Mendoza transferring to Miami from Indiana last year. And it's an NFL. I know it's not the same, but you know what? I'm not going to go to the NFL. I got a year left. I think I'm going to go to Miami and play for the old home team this year. I mean, that is an amazing thing when you think about it. That Texas softball got the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy winner, the Naismith winner, Golden Spikes winner, whatever you want to call it. I mean, that's pretty big time. The Marcus Spears stuff, big time for Texas basketball and the University of Texas. I think that's going to be underrated for the University of Texas. But it's been a great summer. There is no doubt about it. And this is next couple of years are set up for truly great opportunities for this athletic program.
Well, even before we get to the next couple, this year set up very well. Jerry, I wrote about it on Friday. You know, when does this classify as a golden era for Texas football? And I know that's time for another argument for another time. Look, you need to win one of the big three, right? Football, basketball, baseball. You need to win a national championship on one of those to begin what I believe to be a golden era. That's not disrespect to the national championships in volleyball or softball or how successful women's basketball has been. But those three have to deliver to begin that clock for me. But I will say, I don't know if I've seen more talent between the three teams going into a single season than what Texas will embark on for 26-27 school year than what is currently on the roster today. And that should be very exciting in its own right.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, Texas has that ability, obviously, through NIL. But if you had amassed rosters like this 15 years ago, you'd have been like, oh, wow. But in the portal day and age, right, you're one of a few that can do this. So not a guarantee, but I agree with you that one of the big three have to win one. I think another one of the big three have to play for it. I think that has to happen. And obviously
to repeat 0809.
Yeah, to get into that region, get into that area code.
All right, guys, we got time for just another question or two before we get out of here. But first, I need to say thank you to our sponsor. That's John Donovan, president of Longhorn Wealth Management Group. John is a proud Texas X Life member who served on the Dallas Texas X's board for 15 years and now has spent the last 4 years helping lead and support the growth of the new Collin County Texas X's chapter. John also consistently serves his fellow Longhorns as a certified financial planner and the founder of Longhorn Wealth Management Group, the firm he created and dedicated to serving Texas alumni and employees, as well as their family and friends. And John is so proud to have Longhorn Wealth Management Group be honored by the Texas X's as a member of the 2026 Longhorn 100. This exclusive award recognized the 100 fastest growing companies in America from 2023 to 25 that were either founded by, owned by, or led by a UT alumni. This was John's first year to apply for the award, and he was excited that they came in at number 32 on this year's list. So to celebrate this great accomplishment and recognition, John wants to offer all of the OTF family a free private financial consultation via Zoom, phone, or in person to allow John to show you how working with a CFP like himself can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy, and to reduce or eliminate the risk to your current and future financial success. So please take this time now to schedule your own free private financial consultation with John by either calling the Longhorn Wealth team at 972-707-4900 or schedule online at longhornwealth.net. And John and the Longhorn Wealth team send a huge Longhorn 100 winner hook 'em to all of the OTF family. Okay,
hey, by the way, I wanted to add on that conversation, the one area, because when we look at the golden age of Texas athletics, that early 2000s, they had the great identifiable players that stand the test of time. VY, TJ Ford, Houston Street. Houston Street had such a history with the University of Texas, obviously. I do think, I don't know what's going to happen. We can't guarantee what's going to happen on the field, but Texas will have the identifiable players come out of this time at the University. There's no doubt they're going to have the identifiable players come out. Are they going to get – is anybody going to hoist a trophy with it?
Let's see. Travis wants to know, if the defense is ranked higher than the offense at the end of the season, do we win it all, or does the offense have to be ranked higher?
It's a good question. I lean towards winning it all because barring another setback on an offensive line where, look, I saw this conversation on Twitter. For questions about the offensive line, you have a first-round left tackle. You have a second-team Phil Steele All-American at left guard. Your center is a fifth-year guy in the program. Right guard is a former five-star, second-year starter now. And then your right tackle is a draft pick who could rise to a day two guy this year. That's talent, right? I think talent was where you lacked a year ago. Now, cohesiveness, that's a big piece of it. But you look everywhere else on that offense, there's plenty of talent. There's plenty of talent. I don't know if there's an offense in the country with as much talent on paper than what Texas will have. Now, again, that doesn't equate to success, but the talent is there. If the defense is better than what I'm talking about currently, put the 2 and 2 together, I think that you're going to have a team that is competing for a national championship, if not winning it. I don't think it's a setback, Jerry. I don't think you look at it as a negative if the defense is ahead of the offense. I think that is very much exceeding expectations and putting your team in a position to win a championship.
Yeah, I would say this on the defense, and I honestly don't think they will because of the schedule. If the Texas defense finished the regular season, like top 3 or 4 or 5 in total defense, that would be amazing to me because of who you play. So I look at that and say, if the Texas defense is ranked highest, which on this team better be in the top 5. I'm not saying Texas will be a top 10 total offense, but better be top 5. One of your sides of the ball better be top 5. If it was the Texas defense, based on who we look at this, talk about this schedule for the whole offseason, that would mean Texas defensively is a national championship level team. I don't think there's any doubt. Because if I told you you're facing 2 of the top, not you're going to lose the games, but even statistically, you're going to face 2 of the top 3 G5 quarterbacks going. Those guys are good players. They're going to be in NFL training camps. Whether they make a team or not, who knows? They're going to be in camps, though, one day. And then you have Julian Sand. Then you're playing at Tennessee. I don't care who their quarterback is. Tough place to play on the road. And they have an offensive system. Then you're playing Oklahoma. See if the running game helps Mateer this year. Then you got Trinidad Chambliss. You got Florida has weapons all over the place. Their quarterback just has to drive the bus to score points and gain yards with Buster Faulkner. The quarterback doesn't have to go win them games. And then Kamario Taylor can put up 21 points on you off his playmaking, even if their team's not that good this year. And you're playing at A&M. We'll see what Holman Wiggins is like by game 12. He hadn't done it before and what Marcel Reed looks like. But you're still playing a bunch of experienced players, experienced quarterbacks with really good talent. Like if Texas finished top 5 in defense, total defense on this schedule, I don't even know what I'd say. I'd be more than impressed. Because I think at Missouri, Drink is a good coach. I mean, if they finish top 5 on defense with this schedule, that'd be a serious hat tip and say you're national championship worthy. Because this is a tough schedule to do that against.
I want to tell you all, the last 5 national champions, 4 of the 5 finished in the top 4, except 2022 Georgia finished number 10. This is total defense.
Yeah.
All 5 of them finished top 5 in scoring defense.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
All right, y'all. Well, that is going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. Want to thank John, along with Hayes City, Zen AI, and Prize Picks, all for sponsoring today's show. Shout out to Marcus for joining us today. Tomorrow, though, Jerry, we're going to be joined by Robin Sindeline. He'll be stopping in for a little bit.
That's going to be awesome.
Football. Yep, it'll be very cool. But what's later today, Jerry?
Yeah, we have the live stream tonight. We're going to have a couple of other things today. We'll be monitoring any latest intel on the recruiting front on the Monson sales side of things, on the Landon Williams-Callis side of things. We're getting into. I'll be making a call at some point today saying, hey, anything new on a possible Landon Williams-Callis date, anything they're thinking for an announcement date. So we're just going to be tracking all that stuff today and getting we're doing a lot of back end preparation for SEC Media Days, which start a week from today. A number of us will be there next week in Tampa, so we're getting ready for that. Blake, you're going to be at Texas High School Coaches Convention at the end of the weekend. So you can maybe get Joey McGuire on the show. I know everybody would love to hear from Joey.
Yeah,
and I'm sure he'd love to come on OTM.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, I will definitely be asking.
He's probably waiting for that invite right now from all of us.
Yeah, but Sark will be speaking that Sunday. I believe Muschamp speaks Sunday as well. Jaluk is on Monday, and going to stop by and listen to Vic Schaefer speak. So get a little group of all of them there. All right, well, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell so you're notified anytime we go live, post content, whatever it may be. But remember, we can't be live all the time. So be sure to head on over to ontexasfootball.com. Join in, best community around. Fastest growing community around, guys. Great message board chatter going on over there. And between that and YouTube, we got you covered around the clock. And we hope you all have a great day today. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for CJ Vogel and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Perfect.